What's up, YouTube? KB Cooper here, bringing you my 2019 Xbox E3 press conference thoughts. Did they kill it for me, or did they disappoint this year? Let's find out. What is up, YouTube? This is something that, I have found a resurgence in doing it, and I'm very excited to share my thoughts on this press conference. Without further ado, let's get into this. My initial reactions were pretty positive. I felt that Microsoft used the time to showcase a great arena of games, though not all exclusive, that would be best played on their console. And though I am biased, I think Xbox One is obviously the most powerful console to play on, and so when you're looking for the best console experience, you don't have to look much further than Xbox. And I feel that Microsoft made sure to double down on some of its unique services like Xbox Game Pass and xCloud, empowering gamers to play where they want to play. And this is a great way that Microsoft is kind of cornering the market. Whether it's a console-based future or not, Microsoft is here to stay. In doing this, they've solidified my investment in Xbox and Microsoft as a platform. I understand Microsoft's roadmap, and I'm excited to see what games their acquired studios will continue to make going into the next generation. Reading between the lines, we still have a lot to see in the year and a half between the current console and the next, and with the absence of many Microsoft studios from the conversation, I can only hope and assume that these teams are working hard towards amazing launch catalogs of games for Project Scarlet. So that's kind of my general overview of the show. Now, when we're digging into things that I liked, that I didn't like, or maybe just didn't care about, and if I omit it from this, that means it probably didn't do anything for me, but if I mention it, it's more because I'm trying to make a point. Not everything in this good list is something that applies to me personally. But a couple good things is that I do think they made good use of star power plus third-party title, i.e. Cyberpunk 2077 and Keanu Reeves. Now, in a way this hurt them, because it steered the conversation completely away from Microsoft and drove it right into the wall. That is Keanu Reeves' Cyberpunk 2077, which I think is an amazing announcement, and I am happy that it happened on Microsoft's stage. I am happy that we got this pure moment of Keanu Reeves and a fan in the audience sharing these exchanges and things of that nature. Like, it was great, and it was fun to watch, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to see gameplay, I'm here to see game trailers, and I'm here to understand Microsoft and what they're doing with the console. And this was a good thing, and I was appreciative of it, and I think it was a definite highlight, but it is kind of a good and a bad. But I did put it on the good list because I think it did more purposeful excitement than it did harm to the conference. I think the other thing was just the dialogue around the missions and goals of everybody who works at Xbox and what they're trying to do with the console right now and what they're trying to do with it in the future, and that all of those studios are really focused on giving us amazing game experiences. Not that any studio sets out not to do that, but I think it's reaffirming to see that Microsoft didn't just buy all these studios and then kind of treat them poorly or not give them the tools and resources. And when we hear these kind of interviews or just Phil Spencer essentially speaking to this, it feels genuine, and I can appreciate that. Maybe people don't like the head of games droning on about what's going on or whatever the case may be, but I'm pretty excited, and it's reaffirming to me to see these top level people talk about it in the way that I talk about it, in the way that I like to see people respect the brand. They gave us news on new consoles, and though we can't budget directly because we don't know the console price, it does give us a time frame to expect when maybe a new purchase may need to be made. And though Sony has information out there as well, I'm glad that Microsoft, to a certain degree, shared some of the specs and things that console will be able to hit, as well as a decent window and when we're going to be able to get our hands on this console. For all intents and purposes, we're going to see what this console is next year at E3, and I think Microsoft did a really good job at saying, hey, it's coming, be excited, but we have still more to do before we get to that point. The news on the console is just, it's exciting. You can't not get excited when you know something new is right around the corner. So I'm hoping that it's going to be a console that I fall in love with, just like I did with the Xbox One. Speaking of a new console, Microsoft did also announce that Halo will be launching day and date with that console. So, like, they haven't done this since OG Xbox, and this is something that, is pretty huge, in my opinion, because every console needs games to sell it. And in the past years, really the only other company that I think has done this well is Nintendo when they launched the Switch and Breath of the Wild day and date. I think that was a huge way to move metrics on the Switch, and it was a great game that showcased what the Switch could do, whether in portable or docked mode, and set the precedent of game expectations going forward. If Halo can do that for Microsoft, they've got a huge winner on their hands. Not that they didn't already have it, but there has been faith lost in Halo titles in the community, and just overall perception of Halo is that it's fallen from grace, and this could be an amazing way to push it right back to its top spot. Microsoft also purchased Double Fine Studios. This is another great thing. Double Fine is a great company. They make amazing games that are both creative and add another sense of color to the palette that Microsoft has within these game studios. You don't want just Gears and Halo and Forza. Like, we need more, and we're getting that. And Double Fine is another great way to expand that. The other nice thing that I like about this is Microsoft didn't do the bad guy thing and hold all the properties to themselves. And to be honest, I don't think Tim Schafer from Double Fine would have allowed this purchase to go through if Microsoft said, we want exclusive rights to Psychonauts 2. But it is coming out to all the previously announced consoles, so those of you who were worried about this, worry no more. Though it doesn't matter to all, the whole xCloud console streaming is actually a pretty great thing. And what I mean by that is, I just think it's great that if I could take a controller, I can take my iPad, I can go to my bed, I can take a dump, I can lay on the couch and in a different room. I don't need to worry about if I need to move my Xbox or what game's installed on what. I stream it to the device that I prefer to play on that point. And then the concept of on the go, I mean, I know Google Stadia is announcing their punches here, and Microsoft is announcing theirs. So there's obviously some competition and headbutting that we're going to have there, but I just feel like Microsoft's makes more sense. I'm already buying all these games on this platform. I have access to Xbox Game Pass on both my PC and my Xbox. I understand the library here, and it's not something new to me like Stadia is. So I'm more willing to try this and to use it than I am with other products, and Microsoft has earned that right. And I feel like that's how a lot of other people are going to feel. I don't think Stadia is going to be the entry for people, but I do think once people become comfortable with xCloud, Stadia becomes more practical mentally, and maybe we'll see some transition, more competition in that field later. Another amazing thing that Microsoft did is, well, they gave us a Gears 5 release date, and I don't know if that's that amazing, but it is September 10th. But this is a good and a bad thing, because Microsoft showed no gameplay of this game, which baffles me. A game that you're announcing is coming out in 3 months, and you're not going to show anything? Granted, they have some events, and kind of launched a timeline between now and when the game releases, when we'll be able to see more about the game, even play the game in a public beta, and watch pros play the game as well. But the point is that how do you go on E3 when you have this opportunity where Sony doesn't show up, and you don't show gameplay for this game and many others? I just think it was a huge miss, and even if we're going to see a huge in-depth dive of this game at Gamescom, Gamescom is not on everybody's radar, but E3 normally is, even for a lot of the casual gamers. And I think it was a huge miss not showing some of that stuff. But I am excited that that game is releasing this year, that we do get to get our hands on it in September, and that is right around the corner. Something to hold us off while we wait for that, of course, is Legos and Forza, which doesn't really need more introduction, but it is great to know that another perfect pairing that you just didn't think about until it happened is at our doorstep. Of course, we had Hot Wheels expansion hit Forza 3, and I feel like this is just that perfect wacky, but an interesting enough to pull me back into Forza expansion that I'll enjoy playing. And of course, the content is available via Games Pass. So hop on if you have that and play it when it comes out. Now getting into some of the other things that maybe not as many people care about, we did get an announcement of an Elite Series 2 controller. Some of the things it touts is a better rubberized back. Now, I know that that's been a point of contention for a lot of people in the community. A lot of times the rubber starts to... It depends on how you squeeze your controller or use it, but essentially the rubber would start to peel. I have some chipping and things that happen within my controller. If you take a look at the screen right now, it's hard to see, but it's happening around this area on both sides. But I think that's more from dropping it and hitting it on anything than it is of anything else. So ultimately, I think they're making all the right iterations and changes to that controller to make it robust and to make it just that extra level of elite. Here's my only issue with it. It's an additional $30, and though some of the features that they're tweaking are definitely beneficial, it is hard to go from owning a controller that's not broken to buying another $179 controller. And I think a lot of average or casual gamers aren't going to see the value in this. Now, of course, I'm a competitive gamer, and I understand that Scuf and many other manufacturers make controllers that start at this $150 price point and only go up from there. So I understand the value that this controller provides, but Microsoft could have done better in maybe announcing this at a $149 price point and then discounting the previous Elite controller. It's a nitpick, but I still think it's great that they're further investing in this controller, and that this controller is also going to be compatible with Project Scarlet. And that was confirmed by Microsoft, that all Xbox One controllers will work with the next generation. I mean, I can't fathom the reason why they wouldn't, and that does tell us that there's probably not going to be too much controller design change going into that next console, but it's a good detail nonetheless that I don't have to go and buy all new accessories for this new console when it comes out. This is probably this next part is probably something that I thought I would, I honestly didn't expect, not from a mile away. And when it was announced at first, I smiled and then got extremely excited. I knew what it was the second I saw it, and it was the Microsoft Flight Simulator. For those of you who have never played a Microsoft Flight Simulator game, this is probably one of the most accurate flight simulators that's not an actual simulator for, like, training. I mean, you can kit these things out, you can get all the controls and really have a pilot-like experience if you want to on your PC. And with my triple monitor setup, I'm thinking one day, maybe I'll go for that. But just to have that back into the fold, you know, this tried and true game that maybe isn't for everybody, but it's just like, you get in this plane, you kick back, you see these beautiful horizons as you fly throughout the world. If anything, just to escape and relax after a long day of work, this game is going to be great. I am not that big of a flight enthusiast, but it was nice to see it return, and I'm excited to maybe get back to some of my childhood roots where that was one of the only games I was allowed to play on the family computer. So those are some of my highlights. Those are some of the things that I think Microsoft did really well. You know, that, like I mentioned earlier, they provided a lot of diversity to this platform. There's a ton of other games that I think, you know, really were great to see on Microsoft's stage. But I don't have the essential time to go into every one of those. And that's not what this is. It's not a piece-by-piece breakdown, but it's the things that I thought that they did really well during this conference. But getting into some of the bad, and you'll notice that there's kind of a blend of some of these, like I mentioned earlier. But in a general sense, there was a weak transition from topic to topic or game to game. The flow of the conference overall had little direction, and examples like this being the breakaway when they were talking about Gears 5, they did like this weird camera angle shift down into this box and over, and it was all stylized, there's smoke, there's this whole thing, and all it was just somebody had walked down there. To announce this trailer, we kind of see this TV showing the trailer, and it takes a while for it to punch in to the TV and like play the actual trailer. You know, for those of us who were watching it on the live stream, it was just kind of awkward and honestly completely unnecessary. And it wasn't even a trailer for gameplay. It was a trailer that kind of gave us an idea of what the gameplay would be like, but it was a cinematic trailer, and it would have been so easy to mesh gameplay within it, and I just don't understand why they didn't for, again, a game that's coming out in 3 months. And then they introduced 3 WWE celebrities and made it seem like we were about to watch these people play this game, and then went off camera to go to the next topic. And that flow kind of was disruptive and happened a couple times during the show where we thought we were maybe transitioning into something great, or something interesting, something gameplay based, and then we just went to the next premiere, the next trailer. And though it was back to back to back, it just was a little, I don't know, it just seemed unorganized. It just didn't seem to have the pace that says this was an amazing press conference. Now, I think it was still a good press conference with this, but I can understand the criticisms around it, and I do agree with them. The other thing was, in general, just the lack of gameplay. There was a lot of, well, just no gameplay. And I think that combined with showing too many games, and too many games that aren't necessarily Xbox One exclusives, kind of hurts the faith that Xbox is going to be making great games going forward. Now, I'm a believer, and that's in my core. I'm an Xbox fan till death, and I don't really think there's anything Microsoft could do to do that, unless for whatever reason they banned my account and I lost all my digital purchases, because that's over a couple $1,000s of digital game. I don't like thinking about that number. But the point is, I believe that Microsoft is on the right path, and this press conference had just enough of the right things to make me full invest in this, and to be full and to be, you know, completely confident in my resolution that this is going to be the console that I purchase first next gen, and that I will dive into before considering Sony. Now, I love Sony, and I'm always going to have a PlayStation something to play my games that they make, because they do make exclusive great games. But when it comes to merging all of my other things into one platform while still keeping a gaming focus, Sony was absent from this conversation this year. I don't know their roadmap, and I don't know their plans. And this is either A, because they didn't have anything to show us for the rest of 2019, because they've already announced Death Stranding, and we can only guess that The Last of Us Part 2 will be early spring of next year. But B, because it's this almost overconfidence that they didn't need to say anything. That almost bothers me and makes me feel mildly disrespected. Whereas Microsoft, at least, though they didn't have all their own games to show, came on the stage and gave me a roadmap, and then closed it out with Halo, one of my favorite games and one of their most beloved franchises. That kind of fan service, that even though it's going to cost us, we're still going to show up mentality, makes me feel respected. It makes me excited that even though there wasn't everything to show us, they still wanted to show me something. And sure, I'm playing into that loyalty factor, but Sony didn't even give me the chance. And that's a bummer. And I think it's a huge miss on them. So overall, I think the lack of Sony being present is actually what helped Microsoft in this. And maybe it's best that they didn't show up, because maybe this conference wouldn't have felt as great as it did to me. If you guys like this video and you would like to see more like this, please be sure to comment, like, subscribe, buy a break. I don't care, as long as you do something with it. This has been KB Cooper. I'm out. Have a great day. I'll see you for the next one.